Taman pressed his long fingers against the cold metal surface of the communication console. His crystalline skin glowed faintly blue in the dim light of the underground bunker. Above him, the sounds of destruction echoed through the thick walls. Another building had fallen to the enemy ships. "We have to do something," he whispered to himself. His voice cracked with fear and exhaustion. For 3 months the hegemony fleet had been attacking his world. Every day brought more death and more fear. Sora walked into the communication room. Her tall frame moved with the grace that all Valorians possessed, but her usual calm was gone. Dark circles surrounded her large, gentle eyes. As the leader of their people, she carried the weight of every life lost. "Any response to our calls for help?" she asked, though she already knew the answer. Taman shook his head slowly. The Caraxian Empire said they cannot spare ships. The Federation of Free Worlds sent their regrets but no aid. Everyone is afraid of the hegemony. Sora closed her eyes and took a deep breath. "How many more days do we have?" Admiral Hayek sent another message an hour ago. "He gives us 72 hours to surrender completely. If we refuse—" Taman could not finish the sentence. They both knew what would happen. The hegemony did not take prisoners. They took slaves. The Valorians had lived in peace for over 1,000 years. Their world of Velios Prime was beautiful, with vast green fields and crystal cities that sparkled in the light of their twin suns. They grew food that fed dozens of other worlds. They created art and music that brought joy across the galaxy. But they had never learned to fight. "We are not warriors," Sora said quietly. "Our ancestors chose the path of peace long ago. We have no weapons. We have no soldiers. We do not even know how to hurt another living being." Taman turned back to his console. His fingers moved across the controls, checking the communication arrays one more time. "There has to be someone out there who will help us. Someone who cares about justice." "The galaxy does not work that way," Sora replied with sadness in her voice. "Every species looks after their own interests first. We have nothing to offer in return for military help. We are farmers and artists, not traders or warriors." Outside, another explosion shook the ground. Dust fell from the ceiling of their underground shelter. Thousands of Valorians had hidden in these bunkers, hoping to survive until help arrived. But help was not coming. Admiral Hayek of the Hegemony Fleet sat in his command chair high above the planet. His dark eyes watched the screens that showed the destruction below. His ships had been methodical and efficient. They destroyed military targets first, though Velios Prime had almost no military to speak of. Then they moved to government buildings and infrastructure. "Status report," Hayek commanded in his cold voice. "Resistance is minimal, sir," reported his second-in-command. "The Valorians have no military training and no weapons capable of harming our ships. Some civilian groups are hiding underground, but they pose no threat." Hayek nodded with satisfaction. "Good. In 3 days this world will belong to the hegemony. The Valorians will work in our factories and grow food for our empire. Their crystal cities will house our governors and administrators." The Admiral had conquered 17 worlds for the hegemony. Each victory had been easier than the last. The galaxy feared his fleet, and for good reason. His ships were fast and powerful. His soldiers were well-trained and ruthless. Most importantly, he was smart. He knew how to break the spirit of a people before he broke their defenses. "Sir," called out the communications officer, "we are detecting some transmissions from the planet. It appears they are sending distress signals." "Let them," Hayek said with a cruel smile. "Let them call for help. When no one comes, they will understand that resistance is useless. Their surrender will be complete." Back in the bunker, Taman worked frantically at his console. He had been sending distress signals for weeks, but now he was trying something different. Instead of asking specific governments for help, he was broadcasting on all frequencies. He was sending their plea to anyone who might listen. "Emergency distress call. From Velios Prime," he spoke into the transmitter. "We are a peaceful world under attack by the Hegemony Fleet. We have no military forces. Our people are dying. We need immediate assistance. Please, if anyone receives this message, help us. We offer no reward except our gratitude. We ask only for the chance to live. The message went out in 17 different languages. It traveled through space at the speed of light, reaching relay stations and listening posts across the galaxy. Most receivers ignored it or filed it away as another hopeless plea from a dying world. On the trading station at Nexus Point, a Caraxian official received the message and deleted it immediately. The Caraxian Empire had already decided that helping Velios Prime would bring the hegemony's anger upon them. It was not worth the risk. At the headquarters of the Federation of Free Worlds, military planners calculated the cost of intervention. They would need at least 40 ships to have a chance against Admiral Hyuk's fleet. The Federation could not spare that many vessels, especially for a world that offered nothing in return. The Galactic Council received the message and added it to their files. They would issue a statement expressing concern for the people of Velios Prime. They would call for peaceful resolution of the conflict, but they would send no ships and no soldiers. Far away, at the edge of known space, a small listening post received the distress signal. The post was built into an asteroid hidden from casual observation. It monitored all communications traffic in this sector of the galaxy. The post belonged to a species that most of the galaxy had never heard of. Jin Wu sat at his monitoring station, checking routine transmissions. He was young for his position, but he had excellent language skills and a sharp mind. When the distress signal from Velios Prime came through his receivers, he listened carefully to every word. The message was heartbreaking. Jin Wu had studied the Valorians during his training. They were gentle people who had never harmed anyone. Their art and music were considered treasures by those who knew of them. The thought of them being enslaved by the hegemony made him angry. Jin Wu looked at the regulations on his desk. He was supposed to report all significant communications to his superiors, but this was just a distress call from a doomed world. Most operators would have filed it in the daily report and forgotten about it, but Jin Wu was different. He had joined the monitoring service because he believed his people should know what was happening in the galaxy. Knowledge was power, and power meant the ability to choose when and how to act. He encrypted the Valorian distress signal and added his own analysis. The hegemony was growing stronger with each conquest. They were becoming a real threat to galactic stability. Velios Prime might seem unimportant, but every world that fell to the hegemony made them more dangerous. Jin Wu sent his report directly to Earth Command with a priority flag. He marked it for immediate attention by the Strategic Planning Division. Then he sat back and waited. On Velios Prime, Taemin continued sending his desperate messages into space. He did not know that his words had reached a species that had been quietly watching the galaxy for decades. He did not know that his plea for help was about to change everything. The countdown to surrender continued. 71 hours remained. Fleet Admiral Bin stood before the massive display screen in Earth Command's war room. The screen showed a three-dimensional map of the local galaxy, with thousands of points of light representing star systems, trade routes, and known military positions. His sharp eyes focused on one small dot near the outer rim, Velios Prime. "How long since we received the distress signal?" he asked without turning around. 18 hours, sir," replied Captain Dong Ha, who stood at attention behind him. Our listening post at Grid 77 forwarded it with a priority flag. Admiral Bin was a small man with gray hair and calm eyes, but everyone in the room knew he was the most dangerous military mind in human space. He had spent 30 years planning for this moment, the day when humanity would reveal itself to the galaxy. "Dr. Mi-young, what do we know about the Valorians?" he asked. The scientist stepped forward, holding a tablet computer. Dr. Mi-young was young for her position as head of the xenobiology department, but her knowledge of alien species was unmatched. "They are a peaceful agricultural society, Admiral. No military forces to speak of. Their technology is advanced in farming and art, but they have no weapons research. They have never fought a war. And the hegemony? We have been monitoring them for 12 years, Dr. Mi-young continued. Admiral Hyuk commands their 7th Fleet, 43 ships, mostly destroyers and cruisers. They specialize in quick conquests of defenseless worlds. Their tactics are brutal, but effective. Admiral Bin nodded slowly. Captain Dongha, is your ship ready for immediate departure? The Quiet Thunder has been on standby for 6 months, sir. My crew can launch within 2 hours. Good. Dr. Mi-young, how long will your team need to decode the Valorian language completely? We already have basic communication protocols established, Admiral. Give us 4 more hours and we will be able to speak fluent Valorian. The Admiral finally turned around to face the room. 20 officers stood at their stations, each one representing a different aspect of humanity's first contact protocols. They had been training for this scenario for years. Ladies and gentlemen, Admiral Bin said in his quiet voice, today we stop being observers. Today we become participants in galactic affairs. The room was silent. Everyone understood the magnitude of what was happening. For decades, humanity had remained hidden while studying alien civilizations. They had learned languages, customs, and military capabilities. They had prepared for every possible scenario, but they had never acted. Sir, spoke up Commander Lee, the intelligence officer, the Galactic Council and all major powers have ignored the Valorian distress call. If we intervene, we will be revealing ourselves to every species in the galaxy. That is the point, Commander, Admiral Bin replied. We cannot remain hidden forever. The hegemony grows stronger with each conquest. In 5 years, they will be powerful enough to threaten Earth directly. Better to stop them now, while we have the advantage of surprise. Dr. Mi-young raised her hand. Admiral, may I ask about our rules of engagement? The Valorians are pacifists. They will not understand military action, even if it is meant to help them. Our goal is to save lives, not take them, the Admiral answered. We will use minimum, necessary force. The hegemony fleet will be disabled, not destroyed. Their soldiers will be captured, not killed. We want to send a message to the galaxy, but not a message of fear. Captain Dongha stepped forward. Sir, my ship can reach Velios Prime in 48 hours using maximum stealth protocols. The hegemony will not detect our approach. Excellent. Take Dr. Mi-young's linguistic team with you. Establish contact with the Valorians before you reveal our presence to the hegemony. I want them to understand that help is coming. On the other side of the command center, Jinwoo sat at a communication console. He had been transferred from the listening post to Earth Command as soon as his report arrived. Now he was part of the first contact team, responsible for monitoring all galactic communications about the crisis. Admiral, Jinwoo called out, I am detecting increased chatter among hegemony forces. They are preparing for their final assault on Velios Prime. Estimated time, 60 hours. That gives us a narrow window, Admiral Bin said. Captain Dongha, you will need to move fast. Yes, sir. My ship and crew are ready. The Admiral walked over to another display screen that showed Earth's hidden fleet. Most of the galaxy believed that spacefaring species needed massive ships with visible engines and weapon systems. They did not know that human technology had advanced far beyond such crude designs. The Quiet Thunder was invisible to most sensors. Its engines produced no detectable emissions. Its weapons could disable enemy ships without damaging their life support systems. Most importantly, it could arrive at any location in the galaxy without being detected. Dr. Mi-young, the Admiral said, I want a complete profile of Valorian psychology. How will they react to our intervention? Will they be grateful or terrified? From our observations, sir, Valorians value life above all else. They will be grateful for any help, but they may be frightened by our military capabilities. We should approach them carefully and explain our intentions clearly. Good. Jinwoo, I want you to monitor all galactic reactions once we begin operations. The moment we reveal ourselves, every intelligence service in known space will be trying to learn about us. Jinwoo nodded. I have algorithms prepared to track information flow across all major communication networks, sir. We will know what the galaxy is saying about us within minutes of our first action. Admiral Bin turned to address the entire room. In the next 72 hours, humanity will either establish itself as a major galactic power or reveal ourselves as targets for future aggression. Our success depends on precision, restraint, and perfect execution. He paused, looking at each officer in turn. The Valorians sent out a cry for help. They expected no answer. What they are about to receive will change their world and ours forever. Meanwhile, on Velios Prime, Taman had not slept in 2 days. He continued sending distress signals even though he knew it was hopeless. The hegemony deadline was approaching fast. In less than 3 days, his people would be slaves or dead. Sora entered the communication bunker again. Her crystal skin had lost much of its natural glow, dimmed by exhaustion and despair. Taman, you must rest. There is no point in continuing. I cannot stop, he replied, his voice weak but determined. As long as there is time left, there is hope. Maybe someone out there will hear us. Maybe someone will care. The entire galaxy has ignored our pleas. No one is coming to help us. Taman turned to look at her. Then we will face the end with dignity. But I will not stop trying until the last moment. Unknown to both of them, their conversation was being monitored by the quiet thunder as it raced through space toward their world. Dr. Mi-young and her team were recording every transmission, learning about Valorian culture and preparing for first contact. They are remarkable people, Dr. Mi-young told Captain Dong-ha as they listened to the intercepted communications. Even facing certain death, they maintain their dignity and hope. That makes our mission even more important, the captain replied. These people deserve to live. They deserve to be free. High above Velios Prime, Admiral Hayek reviewed his final battle plans. His fleet was in perfect position. In 2 days, he would commence the final bombardment. The Valorians would surrender completely or their cities would burn. Sir, reported his communications officer, we are still detecting distress transmissions from the planet's surface. Let them waste their energy, Hyuk said with contempt. No one is coming to save them. No one has the courage to face the hegemony fleet. Admiral Hyuk was wrong. Someone was coming. Someone had been preparing for this moment for decades. Someone who would change his understanding of power forever. The countdown continued. 50 hours remained until the hegemony's final assault. 48 hours until the quiet thunder arrived at Velios Prime. The galaxy was about to learn that there were forces in the universe they had never imagined. The quiet thunder materialized in the Velios Prime system like a ghost becoming solid. One moment there was empty space. The next moment a sleek ship hung motionless among the stars. No sensors detected its arrival. No alarms sounded on the hegemony, ships that patrolled the outer planets. Captain Dong-ha stood on his bridge watching the tactical display with calm eyes. His ship was smaller than most of the hegemony vessels, but appearances could be deceiving. The quiet thunder contained technology that was decades ahead of anything else in the galaxy. Stealth systems operating at full efficiency, reported his navigation officer. The hegemony fleet shows no signs of detecting our presence. Excellent. Dr. Mi-young, are your communications ready? The scientist nodded from her station. We have established contact with the Valorian communication system. I can speak directly to their operators using their own language. Captain Dong-ha activated his personal communicator. This is Captain Dong-ha of the Terran vessel Quiet Thunder. I am requesting immediate contact with the leader of Velios Prime. This is not a drill. Help has arrived. Down in the bunker, Taman nearly fell. From his chair when the transmission came through his speakers, the voice spoke perfect Valorian, but the accent was unlike anything he had ever heard. The words were clear and strong, filled with confidence. Sora, he called out. Sora, come quickly. Someone is answering our distress call. Sora rushed into the communication room, her long robes flowing behind her. What did you say? Listen. Taman activated the speaker so she could hear the transmission. Someone called the Terran vessel Quiet Thunder is asking to speak with our leader. Sora's eyes widened. Terran? I have never heard of that species. Are they part of the Galactic Council? I do not know, Taman replied, but they are here. They say help has arrived. With shaking hands, Taman activated the reply function. This is Taman, Communications Officer of Velios Prime. I am speaking for our leader, Sora of the Valorian Council. We did not expect anyone to answer our call. Who are you? Captain Dong Ha's voice came back immediately. We are humans. From the planet Earth. We received your distress signal and have come to provide assistance. We understand that you are under attack by hegemony forces. Yes, Tae-min said, hope creeping into his voice for the first time in weeks. Admiral Hayuk has given us less than 24 hours to surrender. We have no military forces. We cannot fight them. You will not need to fight them, Captain Dong Ha replied calmly. We will handle the hegemony fleet, but we need you to grant us permission to act on your behalf. Will you accept our help? Sora took the microphone from Tae-min. This is Sora. I am the elected leader of our people. We accept any help you can provide, but I must ask, what do you want in return? Nothing in the galaxy is free. There was a pause before Captain Dong Ha answered. We want nothing except the chance to prevent unnecessary suffering. Our people believe that all sentient beings have the right to live in peace. Sora looked at Tae-min with confusion. Such an answer seemed impossible. No species in the galaxy acted without expecting something in return. I do not understand, she said. You do not know us. We have no military alliance with your people. We cannot pay you for your services. Why would you risk your lives for strangers? Because it is the right thing to do. Captain Dong Ha replied simply. We will need complete tactical control of this situation. Our methods may seem strange to you, but we promise that we will use only the minimum force necessary to resolve this crisis. Above Velios Prime, Admiral Hayuk was reviewing his final attack plans when his sensor officer suddenly looked up from his console with a puzzled expression. Sir, I am detecting some unusual energy readings from the outer system. Very faint, but definitely artificial. Admiral Hyuk frowned. Specify. Unknown, sir. The patterns do not match any ship design in our databases. It could be a probe or perhaps a small scout vessel. Send 3 destroyers to investigate. If there are observers from other species, I want them to see what happens to those who defy the hegemony. The 3 destroyers broke formation and began moving toward the source of the energy readings. Their sensors probed the darkness of space, searching for any sign of an intruder. On the quiet thunder, Commander Wu Jin monitored the approaching hegemony ships from his tactical station. Captain, 3 enemy vessels are moving to intercept us. They will reach our position in 17 minutes. Let them come, Captain Dong Ha said calmly. It is time for our formal introduction to the hegemony. Prepare demonstration protocols. Dr. Tiu, Mi-young looked up from her console. Captain, the Valorians are monitoring all communications. They will witness whatever we do to those ships. Good. They need to understand what we are capable of, so they will not fear when we reveal ourselves. Fully. Specialist Nari, the ship's combat engineer, activated her systems. Demonstration protocols ready, sir. We can disable all 3 vessels without causing any casualties. Proceed. The 3 hegemony destroyers appeared on the main screen as they approached the Quiet Thunder's position. They were sleek, dangerous-looking ships bristling with weapon systems. Each one could destroy a small planet, but they could not see their target. Unknown vessel, came a transmission from the lead destroyer. You are trespassing in hegemony space. Identify yourself immediately or we will open fire. Captain Dong Ha activated his own transmitter. This is Captain Dong Ha of the Terran vessel Quiet Thunder. You are attacking an innocent world without justification. Withdraw your forces immediately. There was silence for a moment, then harsh laughter came from the hegemony commander. Terran? Never heard of you. You have 10 seconds to leave this system before we destroy your ship. I am afraid I cannot do that, Captain Dong Ha replied politely. Specialist Nari, please disable their vessels. What happened next would be discussed. In military academies across the galaxy for centuries to come, the 3 hegemony destroyers simply stopped working. Their engines shut down. Their weapons went offline. Their communication systems failed. Even their emergency lighting flickered and died. The ships drifted in space like dead metal shells. But their life support systems continued to function perfectly. Every crew member remained alive and unharmed. The ships were not damaged, they were simply neutralized. How? whispered the commander of the lead destroyer into his emergency communicator. What did they do to us? On Velios Prime, Taimin and Sora watched the tactical display in shock. The 3 hegemony ships had simply gone dark. No explosions. No debris. They were there one moment and powerless the next. What happened? Sora asked in amazement. Captain Dongha's voice came through their speakers. We disabled their ships without harming their crews. This is a demonstration of our capabilities. The hegemony fleet poses no threat to us or to you. Taimin could barely speak. You stopped 3 warships without firing a shot? How is that possible? Our technology operates on principles that most galactic civilizations have not yet discovered, Dr. Mi-young explained gently. We can neutralize enemy vessels without causing casualties. Admiral Hayuk received the emergency transmission from his destroyers with growing anger and confusion. Explain your situation, he demanded. Sir, an unknown ship appeared from nowhere and somehow disabled all our systems. We cannot move. We cannot fight, but we are alive and unharmed. That is impossible. No weapon can disable a ship without damaging it. Nevertheless, sir, that is exactly what happened. This Terran vessel has technology beyond our understanding. Admiral Hyuk stared at his tactical display. 3 of his best ships had been neutralized by an enemy he could not even see. For the first time in his military career, he felt something he had not experienced since childhood. Fear. All ships, maximum alert status, he ordered. We are dealing with an unknown threat. Prepare for immediate withdrawal if necessary. But it was already too late. The quiet thunder was moving toward the main hegemony fleet, and Captain Dongha was preparing to deliver a lesson that would change the balance of power in the galaxy forever. The demonstration was about to become a revolution. Ambassador Haewon stepped out of the transport shuttle and onto the surface of Velios Prime for the first time. She was a tall woman with kind eyes and silver hair, chosen specifically for her ability to calm frightened people. Behind her walked a small team of human diplomats and scientists, each one trained for this historic moment. The landing site was in the capital city's main square, where thousands of Valorian civilians had gathered despite the danger. Their crystalline skin shimmered in the light of the twin suns as they stared at the strange visitors who had come to save them. Sora approached the human delegation with careful steps. She had never seen beings like these before. They were shorter than Valorians, with solid flesh instead of crystal, but their eyes held intelligence and compassion. Welcome to Velios Prime, Sora said in careful words. I am Sora, leader of our people. We owe you a debt that can never be repaid. Ambassador, Haewon smiled warmly. You owe us nothing. We are honored to meet such a peaceful and noble people. I am Ambassador Haewon, representing humanity and the planet Earth. Humanity. Sora repeated the word slowly. We have never heard of your species before today. How long have you been traveling the stars? Longer than most people realize, Ambassador Haewon replied carefully. But today marks our formal introduction to galactic society. Your distress call gave us the opportunity to reveal ourselves. Above them, the sky was empty of hegemony ships for the first time in months. Admiral Hayuk's entire fleet now drifted powerless in space, their crews alive but their vessels completely disabled. The quiet thunder had accomplished in 17 minutes what the entire Galactic Council had declared impossible. Taimin joined the conversation, his eyes still wide with amazement. How did you do it? How did you stop 43 warships without firing a single shot? Dr. Mi-young stepped forward to answer. Human technology focuses on precision rather than destruction. We developed ways to disable enemy systems without harming the people inside those systems. But such technology should be impossible, Sora said with confusion. The laws of physics do not allow for such selective targeting. The laws of physics are the same throughout the universe, Ambassador Haewon replied gently. But understanding of those laws varies greatly between species. Humans have been studying science and technology for a very long time. Across the galaxy, the news of Velios Prime was spreading like wildfire through every communication network. Intelligence agencies, military commands, and government leaders were all asking the same questions. Who were these humans? Where had they come from? And how had they defeated a hegemony fleet so easily? On the Caraxian homeworld, Supreme General Vex called an emergency meeting of his military staff. "I want every piece of information we have about this species called humans," he ordered. "Check every database, every contact report, every intelligence file." "Sir," replied his aide, "we have found no previous records of contact with humans. They appear to have emerged from nowhere." "That is impossible. No species develops interstellar travel overnight. They must have been hiding their capabilities." Similar conversations were taking place on hundreds of worlds. The Galactic Council was in emergency session, trying to understand how a completely unknown species had suddenly appeared with technology that surpassed anything in their records. But the most frightened beings in the galaxy were the leaders of the Hegemony Empire. Emperor Creek sat in his throne room reading reports from Admiral Hayek with growing alarm. 43 ships disabled without warning, he said to his advisors. No casualties, but complete neutralization of our most advanced fleet. This cannot be allowed to stand. Your Majesty, said his military commander, perhaps we should attempt diplomatic contact with these humans, if their technology is truly superior to ours. No! Emperor Crix slammed his fist on the arm of his throne. The hegemony does not negotiate with inferiors. We must learn their secrets and use them for ourselves. Back on Velios Prime, Admiral Hayek himself had been brought down to the planet's surface under human escort. He sat in a detention facility that was more comfortable than most hotels, but he was still a prisoner. His pride was shattered, his confidence destroyed. Commander Wu Jin entered the room where Hyuk waited. The human officer was polite but firm as he sat down across from the defeated admiral. Admiral Hyuk, Commander Wu Jin began. We need to discuss the future of your forces and the hegemony's policies in this sector. I will tell you nothing, Hayek replied with what little dignity he had left. I am a hegemony officer. I do not surrender. You already have surrendered, Commander Wu Jin pointed out calmly. Your fleet is disabled. Your soldiers are our prisoners. The question now is whether this situation can be resolved peacefully. Yuk laughed bitterly. Peacefully? You have destroyed my fleet. We have disabled your fleet, the human corrected. Every ship can be repaired and returned to service. Every crew member is alive and healthy. We could have destroyed everything in seconds, but we chose not to. For the first time since his capture, Hyuk looked truly puzzled. Why? Why would you show mercy to an enemy? Because we are not your enemy, Commander Wu Jin explained. We oppose your actions, not your existence. The hegemony can continue to exist, but it cannot continue to attack innocent worlds. You speak of impossible things. The strong dominate the weak. That is the law of the universe. That was the old law, Commander Wu Jin replied. We are here to establish a new one. Meanwhile, in the communication centers of dozens of worlds, frantic messages were being sent to anyone who might have information about humans. Trade guilds, exploration services, mercenary groups. Everyone was searching for clues about this mysterious species. The most interesting discovery came from a data analyst on the trading station at Nexus Point. While reviewing old exploration reports, she found a single reference to a small blue planet in an unremarkable star system. The report was over 50 years old and marked the world as inhabited by primitive bipeds. No contact recommended. Primitive bipeds, she muttered to herself as she read about the defeat of Admiral Hayek's fleet. Not so primitive after all. Velios Prime, the humans were beginning to establish a permanent diplomatic presence. Ambassador He Wan had set up her headquarters in the Crystal Palace that served as the Valorian government center. Representatives from Earth were arriving daily, along with ships carrying supplies and technical equipment. We want to help you rebuild, Ambassador He Wan explained to Sora during one of their daily meetings. But we also want to establish formal relations between our peoples. What kind of relations? Sora asked. Trade agreements? Military alliances? Friendship, Ambassador He Wan replied simply. mutual respect and cooperation. We believe that all species can benefit from peaceful contact with each other. Sora was still struggling to understand human motivations. But what do you gain from this? What does Earth receive in return for helping us? We gain knowledge, culture, and the satisfaction of doing what is right. Your people create beautiful art and music. Your agricultural techniques could help us feed our growing population. Most importantly, we gain friends in a galaxy that has too much conflict and not enough cooperation. The conversation was interrupted by an urgent message from Captain Dong Ha. Ambassador, we are receiving communications from multiple species requesting contact with Earth. The Caraxian Empire, the Federation of Free Worlds, and 17 other governments want to establish diplomatic relations. Ambassador Haiwan smiled. It seems that our intervention here has attracted some attention. What should we tell them? Captain Dong Ha asked. Tell them that Earth is always willing to talk with peaceful neighbors. Schedule meetings with their ambassadors for next month. We have a lot of explaining to do. As news of humanity's emergence spread throughout the galaxy, the balance of power was shifting in ways that no one could have predicted. Aggressive species were reconsidering their expansion plans. Peaceful worlds were hoping for protection, and everyone was wondering the same thing. What did these humans really want? The answer would reshape the galaxy forever. 6 months after the rescue of Velios Prime, President Youngsu stood before the assembled delegates of the Galactic Council. The Great Hall was silent as representatives from over 200 species waited to hear from the leader of Earth. This was humanity's first formal address to the galaxy, and everyone wanted to understand what these mysterious newcomers truly intended. President Youngsu was a calm man with gentle eyes, chosen for this moment because he could speak of strength. Without threatening anyone, he looked out at the diverse gathering of beings and began to speak in the universal language that all species understood. Friends and neighbors of the galaxy, he began, his voice carrying clearly through the vast chamber. 6 months ago, most of you had never heard of humanity. Today we stand before you as equals, ready to take our place in the community of worlds. Chancellor Vex of the Galactic Council leaned forward in his seat. As the leader of the council, he had spent months trying to understand what humanity wanted. Every analysis had failed to find hidden motives or secret plans. We know you have questions, President Youngsu continued. You want to know where we came from, how we developed our technology, and what we plan to do with our capabilities. These are fair questions, and we will answer them honestly. In the audience, Admiral Hayuk sat with the hegemony delegation. He had been released after 3 months of human custody, but he was a changed man. The experience of defeat had humbled him, and he now served as an advisor rather than a fleet commander. Humanity has been watching the galaxy for over 50 years, President Youngsu explained. We established listening posts and monitoring stations throughout this region of space. We learned your languages, studied your cultures, and observed your conflicts. A murmur of surprise ran through the assembly. The idea that an unknown species had been secretly observing them for decades was disturbing to many delegates. We remained, hidden because we wanted to understand before we acted. The president continued. We saw the suffering caused by endless wars. We watched peaceful worlds fall to aggressive empires. We learned that the galaxy needed something new, not another conqueror but a protector. Fleet Admiral Bin stood in the Earth delegation section, watching the reactions of various species. Some seemed hopeful, others remained suspicious. The military leaders were clearly trying to assess whether humanity posed a threat to their own plans. The distress call from Velios Prime gave us our opportunity, President Youngsu said. We could no longer remain hidden while innocent people suffered. We chose to reveal ourselves by helping those who needed help most. Sora of Velios Prime was also present in the assembly. Her people had become humanity's strongest advocates in the galaxy, speaking to anyone who would listen about human kindness and restraint. She stood to address the council. Honored delegates, Sora said, I have lived with humans for 6 months. I have seen their true nature. They came to us when no one else would. They saved our world and asked for nothing in return. They treated even their enemies with mercy and respect. Yet their technology is far beyond anything we possess, interrupted General Korax of the hegemony. How do we know they will not use this advantage against us when it suits their purposes? President Young-Su smiled calmly. General Korax raises an important point. Power without restraint is dangerous. That is why humanity operates under strict rules of engagement. We use force only to protect the innocent, and we use only the minimum force necessary. Dr. Mi-young stood from her seat in the Earth section. If I may address the assembly, she said, I would like to explain our philosophy of proportional response. Chancellor Vex nodded for her to continue. Human military doctrine is based on solving problems, not creating them. Dr. Mi-young explained. When we encountered the hegemony fleet at Velios Prime, we could have destroyed every ship in seconds. Instead, we chose to disable them without casualties. The goal was to end the conflict, not to demonstrate our power. But what if a threat cannot be neutralized without destruction? Asked Ambassador Zalak of the Caraxian Empire. What if an enemy refuses to surrender? Fleet Admiral Bin stepped forward to answer. In 50 years of observation, we have developed responses to every possible scenario. We have weapons that can destroy planets, but we also have tools that can disable entire fleets without harming a single crew member. We choose our response based on the situation, not on our capabilities. The questions continued for hours. Delegates wanted to know about human technology, military strength, territorial claims, and future plans. President Young-Su and his team answered every question with patience and honesty. Finally, Chancellor Vex called for order. The Council must now deliberate on humanity's request for formal recognition and membership in galactic society. The debate that followed was intense. Some species welcomed humanity as protectors who could end the cycle of conquest and suffering. Others feared that human technology made them too powerful to trust. A few aggressive species openly opposed any recognition of human authority. While the Council debated, events across the galaxy were already showing the effects of humanity's emergence. The hegemony empire had collapsed as world after world declared independence, knowing that Earth would protect them from retaliation. Trade routes that had been unsafe for centuries were now peaceful as pirates and raiders feared human intervention. On Velios Prime, Timon worked in his new position as Earth's communication liaison for the sector. His console now received dozens of distress signals every day from worlds seeking human protection or assistance. Each case was carefully reviewed by human analysts who determined the appropriate response. Another call from the Tiberian colonies, he reported to Captain Dong-Ha. During their daily briefing, slave raiders are threatening their outer settlements. Send the patrol ship Rising Dawn to investigate, Captain Dong-Ha ordered. Standard protection protocols. And the Caraxian request for a trade agreement? Schedule a meeting with their economic delegation next week. They seem genuinely interested in peaceful commerce. These routine conversations showed how quickly humanity had become integrated into galactic affairs. What had begun as a single rescue mission had evolved into a comprehensive peacekeeping and diplomatic operation. Back in the council chambers, the debate was reaching its conclusion. Chancellor Vex called for a final vote on humanity's petition for recognition. All in favor of granting full diplomatic status to the human species and the planet Earth? The vote was overwhelming. Only a handful of delegates opposed the measure, mostly representatives of aggressive species who had benefited from the old system of constant conflict. President Young-Su stood to address the assembly one final time. We are honored by your trust and confidence. Humanity accepts the responsibility that comes with our capabilities. We pledge to use our strength only to protect the innocent and preserve peace. The applause that followed was sincere and heartfelt. For the first time in generations, the galaxy had hope for a better future. But the most remarkable change was not in the great halls of government or the military academies where human tactics were now studied with awe. The real change was in the small details of daily life across thousands of worlds. Children played in streets that had been battlefields. Merchants traveled routes that had been controlled by pirates. Scientists shared research without fear of military theft. Artists created works that celebrated peace instead of glorifying war. On a small trading station near the edge of known space, Jin Woo worked at his new assignment as humanity's senior communications analyst. His discovery of the Valorian distress signal had changed his life and the lives of billions of beings throughout the galaxy. "Any interesting signals today?" asked his supervisor during a routine check. Jin Woo smiled as he reviewed his reports. 3 requests for protection, 2 trade inquiries, and 1 very polite thank you message from a colony we helped establish safe shipping routes. "No distress calls?" "Not a single one," Jin Woo replied with satisfaction. "For the first time in my career, no one in this sector is crying for help." His supervisor nodded approvingly. That is what success looks like. The transformation of the galaxy had taken only 6 months, but its effects would last for centuries. Humanity had not conquered the stars through force. They had won them through competence, restraint, and an unwavering commitment to doing what was right. Years later, when historians studied this period, they would mark the moment when Taimeen sent his desperate distress signal as the beginning of a new age. The galaxy had called for help, and what arrived was not an army of conquerors but a species dedicated to peace. The age of endless war was over. The age of human protection had begun, and somewhere in the vast reaches of space, other listening posts continued their patient watch, ready to respond to the next call for help. Ready to prove once again that in a galaxy full of predators, humanity chose to be the guardian.